Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Today we will discuss a module from comparative literature drama in India. It is on Daham, a Telugu play. The content of this module is written by Dr. Upender Gundala. Indigenous drama or theatre in India during British rule was influenced and inspired by Western classics in structure, form, and poetic rhetoric, which were chiefly written in English. At this juncture, the indigenous themes such as independence, equality, and resistance in India have also developed emerging in English. Initially, the theatre or drama focused on unwritten stories, oral folk tales, stories from epics and myths. Along with all these themes, the post-independence drama witnessed the development of indigenous themes related to caste, class, gender, social justice, etc. Simultaneously, various new types of performative arts have also been emerged in the recent theatre of India. Among them, street theatre practice has become a weapon to educate the weak and larger unorganized communities to address their rights and to organize them. Street theatre performance has helped the target communities in order to assist them in articulating their resistance against the inequality caused by the greatly organized professional organizations like developed communities, caste societies, etc., industrial unit managements or government institutions and enterprises. The Telugu theatre has a long surviving history. Evidence from sculpture and inscriptions indicates that theatrical activities flourished in the present southern state of Andhra Pradesh as early as the 2nd century BC. To overcome caste, class or gender issues in India, street theatre practice have become a boon for various resistance movements for the target communities, particularly due to its easy mobilization in educating the public. At this point, we discuss a popular and influential Telugu street play named Daham, 2002, written by Telugu feminist playwright Dr. M. Vinodini, which was translated into English as Thirst in 2005 by Dr. Sunita Rani. The translation of Daham as Thirst in English is published in Staging Resistance, Plays by Women in Translation, Oxford University Press, 2005, edited by Professor Tutun Mukherjee, an eminent scholar and writer of comparative literature. Daham was projected to elevate spectators' awareness and consciousness related to usual and daily atrocities and inequalities faced by the Dalit communities who have been suffering the untouchability in many aspects. In spite of the constitutional protection for the elimination of untouchability, Thirst portray a distressing depiction of the caste atrocities faced by the downtrodden sections in rural India. The play offers a critique of the subjugation faced by the Dalits, more specifically the Dalit women, and leads for collective endeavor, thus appraising the realization. Now let us talk few words about life and career of the author. Guntur-born Dr. M. Vinodini is a writer, poet, critic, social activist, and playwright. She was graduated from SC College, Guntur, and MA, MPhil, and PhD from Telugu University, Rajamundry. Presently, she is working as an assistant professor in Yogi Vemana University, Kadapa, Andhra Pradesh. Her essays on classical Telugu literature, teaching or pedagogy, and writing on Dalit stories and poetry are popular. Her selected stories, poetry, and essays have published and are translated into English and many Indian languages. Some of her works have been published in Oxford, Penguin, etc. Her popular play Daham, translated into English as Thirst, and her poetry Single Pole Heart have been placed in the syllabus of MA and MPhil level at University of Hyderabad. Her The Parable of Lost Daughter has been prescribed as a textbook for degree students of Kerala University. Her works includes a play Daham, Thirst, Vegu Chukkalu 2014, a critical volume, and Black Ink Stories 2015. She also has written above 50 poems and published 30 articles in various newspapers. She also grabbed Savitribai Phule Best Teacher Award in 2016 and many other awards for her contribution to the Dalit women literature. Now, just to mention the list of characters found in this street play. Shauramma, age 45 to 50 years. Ganga, 22 years. Pushpamma, 45 to 50 years. Punnamma, 45 to 50 years. Yashoda, 45 to 50 years. Daughter-in-law of Pedda Reddy, between 20 to 25 years. Sister-in-law of Pedda Reddy, aged 40 years. Dasu, between 20 to 25 years, son of Shauramma. Raju Prasad and Chandraya Dibbadu, age 22 to 25 years. And Chinnamkati, 40 to 45 years. Peddamala, 60 to 65 years. Husband of Ganga, 25 years. Tata, grandfather, aged around 70 years. Narshaya, Shauramma's husband. Pedda Reddy, 50 to 55 years. Chinna Reddy, 50 to 55 years. And Venkata Reddy, 25 years. Now let us analyze the play Daham or Thirst. The play has been written in 5 scenes. Since I begin in a thatched hut of Tata, a Mala elder who lives in Malapalli, a segregated colony from the mainstream village. The play starts with the cry out of Dasu about his mother Shauramma, who leaves the house to fetch the drinking water hours before. He later inquires about Ganga, his sister-in-law, after listening to the continuous bawling of their infant, and comes to know that she goes to feed breast milk to the grandson of Pedda Reddy, leaving her own infant at home. On the other hand, his mother Shauramma was waiting for pitcher water at the well, while Dasu shouting at Tata by querying the situation of the infant, who was howling for feeding and questioning the sacrifice of his sister-in-law. Shauramma enters the house by shouting at some women. Both Dasu and Tata came to know that she has beaten badly by the Reddy women. Dasu then realized that his mother was attacked by the upper caste women because of her attempt to fetch water from the well. He also became conscious that she had been ignored by the upper caste women to get some water from long time. Shauramma depicts the entire story with agony. Dasu becomes furious and tries to question the authority of the upper caste women and their atrocities on them. However, Tata, an elder grandfather, stops him by explaining their inability out of their lower caste in the society with fear. After listening to the old man, Shauramma also consoles her son in a helpless condition. The scene 2 starts with the entry of the Peddamala, an elder leader of their community, to Shauramma's house. Despite of suffering, he questions Shauramma for her squabble with upper caste women and seeks explanation about the confrontation. Narsaya, husband of Shauramma, also shouts at her for the whole thing that happened. After watching them in vain, Dasu becomes furious and demands the justice for the acts of violence by the upper caste. Scene 3 or third scene shows us how dominant the Reddys were. Pedda Reddy inquires Venkana, one of these workers, about the transfer of information to Peddamala, an elder of Mala community, about the Shauramma issue. Afterwards, Peddamala and Narsaya, along with 2 others, go to Pedda Reddy's place and Pedda Reddy attacks them verbally with imperialistic nature and wants them to be in limits. Pedda Reddy shows his oppressive attitude towards Peddamala, Narsaya and others by targeting their status by caste in the society and forewarns them to survive in the village. He also blames Shauramma for giving birth to 4 children by comparing with a pig. Fourth scene is one of the prominent parts of the play which shows the resistance against the unending atrocities, a recall of past atrocities and the decision of collective action against the upper caste abominations on the downtrodden sections in the village. After all, the continuous hesitation and reluctance, both elders and youngsters decided to see whether they will survive in the village respectfully or not. All the residents of Malapalli or Dalit Street gather and discuss the issue of Shauramma. Peddamala started thinking of the haughty ruling of Pedda Reddy. He then opined that there should be a limit for Reddy's atrocities. Dasu, son of Narsaya and Shauramma, fires on them. Dasu wanted to attack them directly, but Peddamala and Chinnamkatti obstruct him. They explained about same kind of attempt against the Reddy's dominance by Dasu's uncle and his end. Dasu and other youth of the Dalit street came to know by Chinnamkatti, Punnamma, Pushpamma and Tata that Dasu's uncle has been assassinated by Reddys for his demand of fifth Ari of Pule to fetch water from the well in their street for Dalits. Fifth scene is the last episode in the play. Pedda Reddy questions the elder man, Peddamala, for the presence of entire Dalit street in the panchayat. Afterwards, Reddy asks the penalty and Dasu questions it. Pedda Reddy becomes furious and shouts at Dasu. But Dasu, along with Raju, keep on questioning Reddy and seeks explanation for the penalty. They claim that it is upper caste women who attacked Shauramma and they have to be punished. Venkata Reddy become furious and threaten the Dalits to be in limits. He questions them on what authority they decide penalty in the village. Both Chinna Reddy and Venkata Reddy become furious and try to terrorize the people over here. Pedda Reddy later says Mala Shauri tried to fetch water from the shore of our village well. Instead of that, she abused the upper caste women. However, Dasu questions the authority of deciding outlaws and questions their autocratic approach on the downtrodden section in the village. He later demands that the upper caste women should apologize for their cruel attack on his mother initially. Venkata Reddy warns Dasu and says that the rules and norms are decided by the elders of the village, but Dasu counters that they are decided by the elder of upper caste. In the meantime, a maid comes from Reddy's home and informs Ganga, who breastfeeds Venkata Reddy's son, to go Reddy's home immediately. Ganga's husband shouts at her. However, Ganga also rejects the request and reports that they should allow them to fetch water from the well to drink. Afterwards, the discussion leads to the chaotic condition where Venkata Reddy gets furious and abuses Dasu and his mates by caste. Chinna Reddy recollects the old stories of suppression and warns that they will end everyone who goes against them in the village. Venkata Reddy questions them that how they are surviving without taking water from them with a satirical tone. Shauramma replies him saying that they go for miles together on foot to take where pigs and buffaloes swim and fetch the dirty water. Pedda Reddy tries to object to her remarks and claims that it happens only during heavy summer due to drought. Punnamma contradicts Reddy's claim and affirms that the well do not affect with heavy summer. Indeed, water from the well is being used by the upper caste for their toilet, cleaning dishes, bathing, and finally for pouring water mixed with cow dung in front of their houses. On the other hand, she adds, they do not get water for wetting their throats. At this point, Punama doubts that how can they think of Reddy's kids. Chandraya then assumed that if they look after the baby Reddy, he then will kick on their chest in future. Meanwhile, daughter-in-law and sister-in-law of Pedda Reddy and his wife Yashodamma, along with the infant baby, presents at the panchayat. Daughter-in-law of Reddy begs Gangamma to feed her son to give him life. Ganga reacts but maintains stability. Daughter-in-law supplicates her uncle Pedda Reddy, husband Chinna Reddy, and another uncle Venkat Reddy to give life to her dying son. Pedda Reddy then requests Ganga again to feed the baby. But Ganga's husband affirms that she will not feed until the panchayati dissolves. Peddamala also claimed that they do not believe Reddys because of their continuous deceitful atrocities. Pedda Reddy then promised that they will give fifth pulley and facilitate water for all of the Malapalli. Unpredictably, Ganga straightway affirms that they are not fighting now for fifth pulley, which is their right. She states that they will fetch water from the well, does not matter whether they give or not. The reason for coming to this panchayati is to question the brutal attitude of upper class women who attacks Shauramma physically and abuses all the lower class women as pigs. They have come to seek the apologies from them. Pedda Reddy then accepts their mistake and assert that they will not repeat it. But Dasu demands apologies from the upper class women who attacked his mother. The play finally ends with apologies from the daughter-in-law of Pedda Reddy, and at last Ganga takes the baby into her lap to feed. Thus, after initial hesitations and reluctance, the elder Dalits, along with the determined youngsters, shows the collective revolution against the upper class and their atrocities. Now let us talk about gender and caste subjugation in rural India, an outlook of Daham. Vinodini's Thirst or Daham portrays the issues of caste, gender and resistance of the Dalit women after long struggle. The ideological commitment of the author hints the elaboration of social conditions of Dalits in rural India and their subjugation. The depiction of Dalit women struggle for water remind us of the violence, oppression and structural inequality engendered by casteism. Furthermore, the revolt of the Dalit women in the drama strengthened Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's idea of radical program of education and rights-based advocacy for the lower caste within a framework of acquisition against the oppressor and the revelation of the conditions of Dalit life. Vinodini's outlook on caste and its impact on the subjugation of Dalit women reminds us the perspective of Vasanta and Kalpana Kannaviran's caste and gender as twin mediators of oppression from the outset. To substantiate the gender and caste impact on the oppression, Scene 1 emphasizes the two-facedness of the upper caste Reddy women's social discrimination of Dalit women named Shauramma due to her attempt to fetch water in their absence. On the other hand, the same upper caste women allows a Dalit women, Ganga, to breastfeed their infant baby in private. It shows us the dual mentality of the upper caste women and their gruesome practice of untouchability, particularly in the rural areas across the country. Vinodini describes the reactions on caste bias by three generations in her play. The first generation, Tata's stern responses, while shows as Shauramma's disrespect and contempt will lead to the extreme levels. Later, Peddamala an elderly Dalit representative of Mala community scolded Shauramma for her offensive act. Afterwards, Narshaya belongs to second generation reverberates the self-obligatory prejudice. If there is no water, we would have lived drinking urine. In contrast, Dasu discharges it as nonsense. Finally, the problem will be addressed successfully through the characters like Dasu, Gangamma, Prasad and Raju by the end of the play. Vinodini discloses Mala women's usual harassment through Shauramma by upper caste over the images of vultures and carcass. Shauramma says, even if people are dying of thirst, you won't give a drop of water. So you were the pigs. I said, that is all. They jumped on me, pushed my chest, and threw me down. They beat me, kicked me, pulled me by my hair, broke my pitcher, and said, go and cry wherever you want. Unquote. Shauramma's effort to access the restricted water and her encounter with the Reddy women highlights that women of diverse castes experience gender in a different way. The reactions of the upper caste Reddy women portrays their participation with the graded discrimination in caste hierarchies. Nonetheless, Vinodini depicts Mala women as partaking in the unmasking of patriarchal ideas of maleness. The Mala community's patriarchal approach is evident in Peddamala, who begs mercy for Shauramma's rashness and scolds Narsaya, her husband, in public, saying, you are incapable of controlling your wife. Why have you taken birth as a male? Spits. Thu, shameless fellow. Motherfucker. Will you die if you have no water one day? I have noticed it's only your wife who cannot wait at the well for water even for a day. This should happen to you for having married that kind of a wife. Now fall at Reddy's feet and ask for forgiveness. Unquote. Afterwards, in Pedda Reddy's caution to parade Shauramma naked, he is making a statement on her easy of access as a public woman and remarks on her character out of her caste. Vinodini depicts the female characters presenting a subaltern feminist critique by highlighting caste as gendered. Pushpamma and Punnamma also represents as the voices of resistance through their firm stand during the panchayat in the last scene of the play. Ganga plays crucial role in dissolving the major issues and supports in protecting the Dalit women's self-respect. Thus, the play gives us a clear indication of Dalit women character as resistant and bold enough to face the atrocities and revolt against the caste gender bias. Vinodini portrays the empowering awareness and realization of the Mala community. Now, let us conclude our discussion. Vinodini's Daham, Thirst, tries to emphasize the Dalit women's suppressions with regard to their survival in the rural areas and awakes the audience readers to understand the atrocities, discriminations and prejudice in hierarchical society. It also depicts the success story of the subalterns who fight against the inequalities based on the caste. The portrayal of everyday struggles of Mala women gives us an idea of subjugation and real plight of Dalit women in the country. In other words, the significant aspect of thirst lies in the reclamation of missing Mala women's practices and description of usual forms of subjugation and discrimination faced by them. It can be noticed that the play portrays the growing consciousness of Dalit women who are showed as forceful, brave, and clever in their questioning of feudal society and enactment of united struggle in protecting their self-respect in front of the upper caste dominance. Highlighting the nexus between caste and women, Vinodini's Daham, Thirst, describes the dissimilarities in the way gender is practiced by the upper caste women and the Dalit women. Thus, the play tries to illustrate the breakdown of feminism in the context of caste, particularly in rural India. Vinodini also depicted the major women characters of thirst, such as Shauramma, Ganga, Pushpamma, Punnamma, and Chinnakati, as rising women who have widened the consciousness through their brave act of collective resistance in gaining the identity and protecting the self-respect. Simultaneously, the play portrays the saga of Dalit women, particularly living in rural areas across the Indian nation. Thank you.